Welcome to the first episode of NewsPULSE, dealing with derelicts. I'm Stacey Russell. Across Barbados, there are scores of abandoned houses that have become dilapidated. And determined to preserve public health and improve the quality of the environment, the Ministry of Environment, National Beautification, Blue and Green Economy will be moving swiftly to demolish a number of these structures across the island. That demolition job will be managed by the Environmental Protection Department, or EPD, now that the Ministry of Health and Wellness has investigated and condemned the unsightly structures posing a health risk in various neighborhoods. The EPD wrote to landowners saying what needed to be done to bring their properties up to standard, and if they didn't do so within a stipulated period of time, the department would tear their structures down in keeping with the Health Services Act. The work of removing derelict structures and cleaning the lands is to begin shortly, as a notice of tender for contractors to bid for the job closed on March 3. CBC has located some of these dilapidated structures from the latest published list of nearly 80 buildings earmarked to be pushed down. Some of them are located in St. Michael, St. George, St. Philip, Christchurch, St. Lucie, St. Peter, St. James, and this one here in Whitehall, St. Michael, is one of them. Residents living nearby for between 3 and 15 years are quite pleased to know that very soon it will be pushed down.
From the time I saw the first one being done, I thought that it was a good thing. Yeah, my concerns would be the bushes and stuff, over a period of time, the rodents and stuff. And only maybe a month or so prior to them putting the sign on the house, I was saying that it's not long before the government decide to push that down. And I came home one evening and saw the stamp on it, and I tell myself, yeah, it's finally come to reality. And it's sad that it get to that stage, because you just watch a good house just rot away.
Some girls used to live in there, but after they move out, nobody else move in it. It just went on road, just went to pieces. But after the last hurricane, took off the roof, the siding, took off everything. I feel to move everything, not know everything. But it's a hazard. Rats is harming it, anybody can hide in it.
They got a lot more less people that's passed around, but you never know who will be in there.
So that makes you feel a little unsafe.
Yes, it do. But you look across there all the time and see it there. It's be a sight to the district.
Government has to do what they got to do. And I believe the reason why they want to tear it down, because the roof, a part of the roof has been blown off, and the other part is fragile. Who knows when the building gonna cave in? So I guess they're seeing this, they would want to tear it down, obviously. Now and again you would see a rat. Well, how I would see the rat, because my cat would kill them and bring them and show me them.
It's a good idea about what the government doing, because people are about here, so especially people that own houses, they have the houses shut up, they're renting, they're selling, and the houses just standing there around. So, but it's bad, because if you got family and they're overseas, come in and do something about the house, and since people go clean up around the place and go clean up the next door, it's unfair. Like the man, he knows to clean it, and he start, and that is not right. When you see houses like that, the government should do something about it, because houses that left, they got some down there the same way too, just there so running ruin, and people want houses, people want land, but you can't expect to left it there, and you don't tend to it yourself. People that live inside the house, God decide now to go and clean up your mess. So it's not fair. So we have to put up with that. We don't know if mice in there, we don't know if rats in there. So I don't know if the next door neighbor complain that the government come one day and put the thing on the marking on the house. The man next door is going to clean it, so I don't know if it's rats or mice is be in there. So I don't know because he's going to clean it.
Mario Garcia, a carpenter, is the neighbor currently trying to keep the surroundings clean.
For the 14 years, I saw a lady came here once, and she told me that she wanted to do some repairs. So I was happy. I was like, okay, finally the house is not going to waste away. And she never came back. That was it. And the property just stayed and kept deteriorating. And I lived right next door. Whenever I get a chance to clean mines, I clean this also. And I'm a working person, so sometimes it might slip me. I cannot get to it as prompt as I should. But whenever I do get a chance, I do it, because I don't like it to get away from me, right? It had gotten away from me already, and it was difficult for me to bring it down back to square one. It doesn't really cost me a lot because I have a weed whacker, my personal weed whacker. So all it costs really is time and gas and the strings, and that's it. Put in the time. Sometimes I don't get to do it all once. I would do an hour today, an hour tomorrow, things like that.
Apart from residents wanting it gone, some are also hoping it will become an opportunity for much needed new housing, while others have confessed that they will miss the particular house being here in Whitehall, St. Michael, and a few would love to build their dream home on the spot.
It's a landmark. I will put it that way, because if you're going to direct anybody, you come through 23 Road, and it's the old wooden house on your left, just before you get to the no entry sign for Eden Lodge Primary. So it's basically a landmark. Now it's going to be moved. You have to find something else to tell somebody.
Well, I would like to see like something decent built. A decent build. I would like out there clear right down. The trees, everything move. I will figure.
Look back and build a next house there, or the next apartments. That's the best thing they could do. So a house on some next apartments that somebody gets somewhere to live.
I would love to see a nice house go there. I would love if I have the opportunity to acquire the land, but it is what it is. Believe you me, I will try to make my family as comfortable as. I will put something nice and simple and try to keep it as simple as.
How big is your family?
Wife and 2 daughters.
Once it's cleared away, if it can, if the community could look a little bit more neat, whatever is built here, at least whosoever is dealing with it, I guess they're gonna help the community look better. So whatever they put here is better than nothing at all, I guess. I would like to get first preference. That's the honest truth. If they're gonna sell it or whatever they're gonna do with it, I'm not familiar with the real estate laws and how these things work, but whatever they're gonna do with it, I would like the opportunity. I have a young daughter who's a Barbadian, and I have to provide for her. I have to make a way for her. And as a carpenter, I've been building houses for years for people. And why not build one for her?
In Waterford housing area St. Michael, residents are also overjoyed that an old chattel house, unoccupied for at least 6 years, is to be demolished. Their views were best summed up by Tony Hoyt.
It is a welcome because it's been Derelict, unoccupied for a number of years, been harborage of rodents, and it is really a welcome to have it torn down, or to see the sign indicating that it will be torn down. I would like it to be done as soon as possible.
Mr. Hoyt further said that the Environmental Protection Department's push to clear away old buildings and clean up bushy land across the island is commendable.
It is a very good thing because it would help to, when these buildings are torn down, structures are torn down, you know, it will help beautify the country, and that is something that we were, I were hoping to see for a very long time, to see a lot of these old properties torn down. So I give the government 100% for embarking on this.
And what about this particular area that we are currently stood in? What do you think it does for this particular community?
It's good for the community. It's very, very good for the community. The other houses that I see in the area that also has to be pushed down, and it will do very good for this community. We need to see more empty lots without any overgrown vegetation and so on. And like I said, it's a good thing that the government is doing.
One business owner in Gills Gap, Eagle Hall, St. Michael is vexed about the deterioration of a house in the district that is not only a threat to public health, but to his livelihood. How have you been coping, keeping your own place clean?
It's been real hard. It's been real hard. Real hard. And that's the honest to God truth. It's been too hard. And then when customers see that, customers don't want to be like buying certain things, I would like to see it get cleaned up or actually removed, because right now, in land right now, we got some dogs that live in there too. And the dogs will be literally running people up on the night. We have block a hole there. You see part the thing is there, the piece of wood. I have block a hole there so from the dogs going in and out. And if you smell it, like the other day she opened the house there, so I if you smell it, it ain't a nice smell. It overrated now. It gone too far, man.
And this is not the only dilapidated house in Gills Gap, Eagle Hall that occupants or owners refuse to maintain, which is causing residents endless stress and pain in their pockets. One resident who has lived in the neighborhood all her life says she remembers when the house next door to her was well kept, but now it must go.
Last year, I think we spoke to the newly elected minister, Chris Gibbs, and he did us a solid for clearing up all of the bush on that side because it was very high, and he did his best to clean to the front there because we have been putting up with the rats, the rodents, the wood ants. I've had to repair my house on that side about near 3 or 4 times because the wood ants would just eat away at the board, and it has been a very big challenge. I can't open my back door, my side door, because being afraid of the rats or the mice or anything coming in, you always have to spray on the outside. So it has been expensive to maintain your property because of a property next to you that is causing you the harm. So it has been challenging.
Therefore, you're very pleased to know that it will soon be gone.
Very, very, very pleased. Myself and all the neighbors, because it doesn't only affect me. Sometimes at night, if we're out here sitting down, you see the rats running from left to right all across the street. You hear the neighbors complain about the rats and everything. So it doesn't only affect me, it affects everybody in the neighborhood. So I am elated actually that the government is doing something to push down all of these dilapidated homes, because it's ridiculous that people know they have these structures there, and even if they can't do anything with the structure of itself, the most they can do is at least try to keep the surroundings clean.
Over here in Accommodation Road, Bush Hall, also in St. Michael, the biggest worry for residents concerning these 2 derelict structures is them having become home to vagrants. They claim presently vagrants push trolleys with their belongings late at night and wee hours of morning, coming here to sleep. Residents also reported that these 2 homes once stood pride of place here in Bush Hall, and since they became unoccupied, they eventually turned into ugly wooden skeletons because they have been stripped of their windows, doors, and sides. by unknown hands. One Bush Hall resident who lived in the area for decades is hoping that on this occasion, the Environmental Protection Department would waste no time in removing the structures.
I come along to look here about here, out here never used to look so. Never. On tidy, on safety. It's about time that the government take over them. But the Ministry of Health has put up signs and they take years before they come back. Because I know one of the houses, the one above that, the fellas strip that had on the Ministry of Health, the MOH painted on it before. So it's now painted on again.
And Ricky Yearwood, a resident of Grisette St. Michael who often drives by the two derelict houses in Bush Hall, wants government to go a step further.
I totally agree with government in having them torn down because it becomes an eyesore. Also, you know, it's a fire hazard. We've had occasions where, you know, these derelict houses had gone up in flames and damaged other people's houses. And then they harbor a lot of vermin, you know, you got rats and all kind of thing that just living in them. But why stop there? We have a lot of abandoned cars that blocks, you know, access to certain roads. You make some roads become a one-way. You know, you travel on these roads, you can spend 5 or 6 minutes waiting to, you know, to get through. So it's something that needs to be done, you know, right across the island.
Vagrants occupying derelict houses are not the only problem. For some residents of Rogers Road, Government Hill, still in St. Michael, a structure that was legally occupied is creating a breeding ground for vermin and the spread of deadly disease following a fire late last year.
And what has been happening since it's been left like this?
Well, to be honest, rats, mosquitoes, thieves, come to find what they can participate in, and since that time, nobody ever come back here. Definitely about 2 weeks ago, the guy that was living here come and start take certain things from over here, car parks and all kind of things, but he moved on.
How has this been affecting you?
The smoke coming in here, cause I can still smell smoke in here. All like now, that way still in the front now. But my brother, from the insurance people were here now, my brother tried to help me repair this because he's a carpenter. So he tried to help me repair this and I said, well, cause I will see. I don't know. And instead of going inside of here, you can see all the creases. This never had creases before yet. So the heat now swell the board. According to the mosquitoes, every crease, they say now, mosquitoes coming through there still. You know? So I don't know. I just hoping for the best and I always put God in front of me all the time. So in that way I could do it, you know, till the Lord decide to send somebody, you know, to deal with this here for me. I hope I don't take sick no more. I was well bad. I couldn't even move off my bed.
Mr. Qualis spoke of the severe threat to his health and his concerns for his neighbors as he keeps hope alive of the debris and shell of a house being cleared away shortly.
I can't go feeling sick, headaches, all kind of things. So like this, see me, I can get to the doctor. When the doctor tell me he got dengue, give me some medication to take it. Tell me I got to drink a lot of, you know, fluids and things. I did it, drink some burst tea. Next couple days or so, I start feeling back good, you know. That is it.
At Diamond Corner and Portland Tenantry in St. Peter, it's a similar situation of other abandoned homes. The former occupants have moved or passed away, and at least 2 houses in close proximity to each other are soon to be dismantled for falling into ruin and posing a public health hazard. Longtime shopkeeper at Diamond Corner, Roderick Jordan, is glad to see them go.
I think they're nuisances and they need to be demolished, honest, because all they can do is cause rodents to be in at people and things like that. So I don't have a problem with them being removed.
Do you know the people who last lived in these houses?
The people that live in them is all owners of the houses, and they're all passed and gone the other side. And they don't have any relatives in the area at the moment because most of the relatives are either overseas or living elsewhere.
He is doubtful that surviving relatives would rebuild the houses and simply wants the St. Peter districts to be kept beautiful and hygienic.
We need to have them for the district so that the district can maintain the beautiful look that it has.
What would you like to see replace those houses?
Well, it's up to the family if they want to come back and rebuild something after. Right now, I don't think that they're very much interested in doing those things. Just clean up the area and leave it and keep it sanitary so that it would not have the district looking disgraceful.
However, not all nuisance properties belong to deceased or absentee owners. Businesses own some of them, like this beachfront property in St. James. It is so overgrown that access to the beach is restricted. At mile and a quarter St. Peter, one resident spoke about battling with a landowner over a property where rodents fester for well over a decade, and the infestation continued with her move into her own home close by.
I paid to get the spot pushed off around the house. She come and say, we match out your property. This is about, my daughter's 15 years. That means she had it back and forth about cleaning the spot. I moved in here 3 years ago when I first moved in here. Well, already rats there, so I sofa chairs, running through the house, all sorts of things. I got put rat poison on the back step, got shut down the whole house, and all sorts of things. I can't handle it no more. I would like to see it and deal with it at least. At least I would feel more comfortable and safe that my children will be in harm's way and put a hand on something, and I think Corona do enough.
How old are your children?
My daughter is 15, and then I got two sons, 9 and 4.
The Environmental Protection Department has confirmed that the current misery that these and other residents face will soon end, with Director of the EPD outlining plans to not only demolish ramshackle structures, but to clear away decrepit vehicles throughout Barbados.
The Derelict Buildings and Vehicles Program is an annual program. It's one of the consistent features within our operations at the Environmental Protection Department. The objectives of the program are to fulfill those requirements as outlined in the Health Services Act, the Health Services Rodent Regulations, the Health Services Mosquito Control Regulations, and the Health Services Nuisance Regulations. The program actually has existed for quite some time. We've been operating this program now for over 20 years, but the last financial year, or this year, we made a slight change in terms of how the program was promoted. Certainly there are the ads that go into the papers with respect to notification of property owners as well as the public as to those properties that have been identified for removal. But the main idea is for persons, the owners of those properties, to take control and to either clean the property up to ensure that it's within a state such that it doesn't allow for mosquitoes or for rodents to live in the structure. That's the main idea, to encourage property owners. And certainly when we do serve the notices or when we place the ads in the papers, some property owners respond to those. So it's those persons or those estates that
don't respond is the ones that we generally will take action on. And when I say estate, we find that a lot of the properties, the owners have passed away. And in some instances, the persons responsible for the properties don't live in Barbados. I mean, we send notices both via registered mail to the property owners, and in a lot of instances, we don't get the responses that are required. We have actually just received the bids, final bids, for the recent list that we published. That was due on March 3rd. We're now going through those bids and we're going to be awarding contracts in the new financial year.
At this time, the EPD's director is unable to say whether the environmental problem that abandoned properties create is getting worse, but is adamant that the department will continue to do all in its power to keep these dangers at bay.
We've been quite consistent over the last 5 years with respect to the number of structures we've been identifying and the removal rates like us. Within the last 5 years, we've removed around 280 structures. Just this financial year, we've removed 57 structures. Right? So it's fairly consistent, around 50 structures annually, 50 to 80 structures annually that we would remove within this program.
For those residents who may believe that the authorities are not doing enough or moving too slowly, they must understand the cost involved remedying these situations. Plus, removing some structures is challenging. A classic example was the precarious old Howard supermarket in Jackson, St. Michael, that drew a lot of attention from the public before it was recently pulled down.
It varies, but with the change in terms of inflation, the recent minimum wage, etc., the cost has gone up. So for a small wooden structure, we can pay anywhere between $2,500 to $4,000. For a wood and wall structure, around $4,000. And for large structures, stone structures, these can vary from $7,000 to as much as $20,000, $25,000 for very large stone structures. I think this particular structure was around $20,000 to remove. Sometimes there's also the issue of complexity associated with these structures. If the structure, as in this case, this particular structure, as you can see, is very close to the neighbors, which required special procedures to ensure that when you're removing the wall membranes, the wall faces, that no debris falls and damages the adjacent neighbors. So hence why the costs would vary for when you're dealing with complex structures that are very close to other neighbors. We've budgeted around $400,000 within this financial year for the entire program. That would be both for the derelict buildings program and the derelict vehicles program. The law requires that we try to recoup that money, and we're in the process now for those properties for which we have removed those structures. We're in the process of issuing the cost recovery letters to the property owners.
Explain that to me.
The cost recovery letter basically is based on the cost of demolition. So when we do remove a structure, there's a cost attached to that, and that's the cost that we would pay to the contractor. The way how we do this is a competitive bidding process. So we generally look for the lowest cost to achieve the objective that we want. That is the demolition of the structure and the removal of all of the material generated from that demolition process and the cleaning of the site to ensure that the health services regulations are maintained after we leave.
Meanwhile, a senior environmental inspector with the EPD shared how complaints are handled and his observations in the field.
Well, we also respond to complaints about cars. we go into the field, we receive most complaints via telephone. Is that we get most of these complaints from the bodywork guys and the mechanic guys in the neighborhood that will tend to like take parts off of cars and then leave the shells there just to collect water and breed rodents and that stuff. So we get a lot of complaints on that. When we go out in the field, we would serve the notices on these vehicles, and then when we accumulate, let's say around 300 to 400 vehicles, we then issue contracts to contractors who will go and remove these vehicles. In the last financial year, we will have removed 460 vehicles across the 11 parishes in Barbados. Our main concern is first and foremost the persons living around. Our main concern is rodents, the breeding of mosquitoes. We also have harborage for a lot of undesirables that live in the buildings, which then pose a fire hazard because we have guys that are actually cooking or living in the structures. So we actually had some structures, not this one, but we actually had some structures where the fire service had to respond to fires in derelict buildings where guys would have been residing in the buildings. So that is one of our major concerns. There's also a safety concern with persons having to traverse past these buildings at night where they're not sure who would be hiding or who would be in the buildings at night.
As Mr. Cummins recently served the official notice for demolition on a property in Kelman Land, Black Rock, St. Michael, he gave more insight into the field work of environmental inspectors. Tell me about this particular one.
Okay, well, this structure we would have gotten either, I'm not sure if we would have gotten a complaint or in our day-to-day driving around, we would have come across this structure. What we would have done, we would have come, do our initial assessment. As you can see, it is missing windows, missing doors. It has the floor is missing. Parts of the ceiling is caved in. We have the likelihood for rodents, mosquitoes, and is creating a nuisance in the neighborhood. It's overgrown with vegetation, as you can see. And we also, when we did our investigation, we would have come, we usually take a little sketch of the area and draw a little map, and then we go to the land valuation department. The land valuation department is what will have the names of the landowners, because we generally serve the notice to the landowners. Okay. We serve the notice to the landowners. So we go into the land valuation with our little sketch, and then they issue us they give us the names and addresses of those persons. And then the notice would be sent in mail, via registered mail to those persons. No matter where in the world those persons are, they will receive the notice.
So you've already sent a notice
yes,
by
this
mail?
notice would have been sent by mail last week.
Okay.
This notice would have been sent by mail last week, and well, about 2 weeks ago, and now we're in the process now of placing the actual notice on the house. So this notice on the house then is to allow for anyone in the neighborhood, for even the owner of the house, the owner of the land, to see it. It has to be in an area where it can clearly be visible, and that is what we're doing. So the notice is placed on the structure right after the registered mail goes out to the landowner. Okay. The notice will say that it expires in 42 days. After those 42 days, then there's a publication in the newspaper, which would last for another 42 days, which gives the owner the opportunity then to either take down the structure or do some form of cleanup or works to the house. After then, and nothing is done, or we don't receive any stay of execution from the owner, then we go ahead then and we issue it in the newspaper then for tender. That tender goes out to any contractor in Barbados then. They can bid their prices for the removal of these structures.
In this case, this is a derelict building, as
this
we can see.
This is definitely a derelict
building. No one
building.
is living in it?
No.
So when you talk about sending a mail to the landowner, where do you send it?
The mail goes to the landowner or whatever address the landowner has.
So
whatever
it might not
address
necessarily
that is
be
at the land
this
valuation department.
Address.
Even if it is this address, it would still be sent, because it still has to be sent via mail. Okay. It still has to be sent via registered mail.
Tell me, Mr. Cummings, what particular risk is this property currently posing to the neighborhood?
Okay, well, this property will be in violation of the health services nuisance regulation, the rodent regulation, and the mosquito regulation. So therefore, it has the possibility to breed rodents, it has the possibility to breed mosquitoes and causing a nuisance in the neighborhood for the persons that live around. So if you look inside, you will see that we have some debris, some garbage, possibly persons would have thrown litter. So that would definitely give reason for the mosquitoes. If we have any containers that can hold water, the windows are off, the doors are off. So if we had any rain, we have the possibility then that we can pond water in any receptacle or inside the building where we can have breeding of mosquitoes.
Continuing his investigations into other derelict homes in Kelman Land, the senior environmental inspector stressed how certain characteristics of some properties pose additional risk to communities.
Mr. Cummins, I understand that this particular building has asbestos.
Yes, it does.
Tell me about it.
Yes. Asbestos is a material that was widely used in Barbados, let's say around 80 years ago, in roofing. So we still come across some derelict structures that have asbestos components in them. If you can look at the back roof of this structure, it carries asbestos. Asbestos does not deteriorate with the sun or the rain. What our concern with the asbestos would be the health implications for the inhalation of the fibers after the asbestos becomes broken. This asbestos hasn't been broken as yet, but it has the potential to be broken after the wooden members that is holding up the roof becomes deteriorated in such a way that the weight of the asbestos then collapses inside, or it may collapse outside and breaks, and then we have the fibers then being dispersed into the atmosphere. Those fibers then when inhaled by, let's say, neighbors or persons that enter into the building or known to the asbestos being there, they inhale these fibers, and then we have health implications that are associated with that. Asbestos is very, very useful. In itself, it is not dangerous as long as you don't inhale the fibers when the asbestos is broken.
Okay.
So that's the main thing we want to let the public know, that asbestos on a roof like this, it becomes weathered, it becomes dark, but asbestos is fine in this state. It would not have any health implications at this state. So that is why we also supervise the removal of the asbestos at the EPD, where we have a list of certified contractors that are trained in the removal of the asbestos. So if you have asbestos on your property, then you can contact the EPD and we will issue you a list of those certified contractors. You will then contact them, they will come out, they will take a look, they will assess the job, they will let you know what the job is going to cost, then they will contact the EPD then will come out then and do an assessment of the area. So when we make that assessment of the area, we look for things like the surrounding neighbors, how close the neighbors are, if they're schools, if they're churches, and then we would let the guys know when would be a suitable time and precautions that they can take in the removal of the asbestos.
So in removing a structure like this, where asbestos is a feature
Yes.
and a potential hazard,
Yes.
you have to take extra care.
Yes. So in a structure like this, the contractor then, after he makes his bid has to include the removal of the asbestos and the removal of the entire structure. After that, he has to find a certified contractor to remove the asbestos before the building is taken down. So the asbestos is removed, the site is cleaned of all the remnants of the asbestos, because all that then becomes asbestos waste and that is taken to the asbestos landfill.
Therefore, there's an additional cost.
Yes. Yes. So that is why when we do our initial assessment, we look for those things so we can then let the contractor know that there's asbestos on the site. So then his cost can reflect the additional work that would be needed to remove the asbestos.
As CBC follows the progress of the EPD in its mandate to remove derelict structures across Barbados, we can now report that some of the latest contracts for demolition have been awarded. and residents in various communities are beginning to get relief. This is the case in yet another part of Eagle Hall, St. Michael, this time behind the Eagle Hall Post Office, where residents heralded the demolition crew this week.
When we came on the scene, the roof was being suspended with almost anything, so it's very dangerous. So the first thing we had to do is take the roof down so it don't become a problem. We recognized it was full of rodents, and that's a problem too. A lot of these houses contain a lot of rodents, right? A lot of rats and mice, cats, and sometimes we meet a lot of undesirable characters. So we still got to be very careful when we go to these houses.
What was the reaction of the residents nearby when you came today?
Well, when we came, it seems like Christmas. Everybody was excited to have this house torn down. The reports are it's a problem. It's a problem because it seems that people are living in it. People were resting up in it for the night illegally, and that itself caused a problem to the residents. So we were greeted with excitement.
I've seen some of them looking out from their windows, but so far they're quite shy to speak with me.
So the neighbor here has been shocked. He came out and he asked if we wanted any water or anything. So he's very courteous, and we usually meet a lot of courteous people when we are torn this down. These houses, they pose a threat because a lot of them are unstable, and a lot of people don't understand that these roofs can cave in anytime. The walls could come in anything because they are weak. The structure could just disintegrate. So things like these, they shouldn't even be in them. When we go to observe them to see what equipment is needed, we usually stay on the outside because they're very dangerous. And you've got a lot of children around these areas playing. Children are suspicious characters. And a lot of them will go to venture to see what is in there, or might play with a ball and go after the ball. So these structures, now, it's exciting to see that the neighbors want them removed. Sometimes you think that people will be vexed that see them. That's not the case that we have had at all. The neighbors are always happy and excited to have them removed. I don't know if they were complaining about it, but it was a joy. It's good to be received and people acknowledge the work you're doing. That's a given plus.
Indeed, the shop owner living next to the property for nearly 14 years and seeing it in its worst state in the last 6 to 7 years is one of the most joyous over this demolition.
I understand that you are one of the most excited residents here.
Of course, I am.
What makes you so excited?
Yes. This house next to me is a hazard to me. I don't know, but the vagrants frequent here. And I could lose my home because of that house. So when the guy came and told me that he's taking it down, I was most excited. When I first bought my home here, some person was living next to me. But then they moved and this became a hazard to me. So I am very glad it's gone.
And I see you operate a business here as well.
Yeah, I do. Like 45% of my business dropped because of this home. Or that old house, rather. Yes. So I'm very glad it's gone. Yes. I'm very glad of it.
But not everyone is happy with the Environmental Protection Department's push to remove some of these derelict structures across Barbados. That is the situation here with this stone home in Bird Hill, St. Michael. It belongs to a long-standing family of the district. The surviving children of the landowner, now deceased, Mr. Joseph Gittins, are adamant that it must not be demolished. Why? Because as far as they're concerned, although it's in need of some repairs, it's in good livable condition. It continues to be occupied by various family members visiting from abroad. It has in all utility services, and the bills are up to date. One of the landowner's sons, Austin Gittins, said the letter received from the Environmental Protection Department has been forwarded to the family's attorney. He took issue with that letter, which mentioned cracks in the building, among other things that needed fixing.
From the letter that we received, that it have cracks in it, and because of those cracks that it should be pushed down, but I was looking for the cracks and I haven't seen the cracks. So I would like the body that came and examined the house to come and show me where the cracks are.
Do you think the fact that it's currently not being lived in is a factor?
No, it is being lived in because my brother's one that coming from overseas, he just stay there, and then when he go back, another brother, he just come and stay in it, you know, during the day and things like that.
The family invited CBC into the property as they try to prove it's not derelict. Indeed, some hairline cracks could be seen in the outside stone stairs and patio floor leading into the house, which seems to be in decent condition. Gittins, who lives nearby to the family house due for demolition, is emotional about the prospects of it being torn down and hopes their attorney's intervention would keep it standing.
I came along, and in fact, when I was a little boy, at that time my father, he was building that house. And, you know, after, you know, he passed away, my brothers there were the ones that were living in the house. And so it is kind of a history where I grew up seeing it being built, and then now to hear that it is supposed to be pushed down. I don't see the reason why the house should be pushed down.
And if it did go ahead to be torn down, how would you feel about that?
Well, it will have to put in the lawyer hand to see, you know, they go fight against it.
Although the director of the EPD could not speak on that specific house, he explained that the family had options.
And in most cases, there are at least 2 publications. So the public has the opportunity, or the property owner has the opportunity at least twice to request what is called a stay of execution. So if the property owner is in variance with the assessment which is done by the environmental inspectors, they can write to us when they see the notice or they've received the notice in the papers. They can write to us, raise an objection. Generally, in most cases, we would provide, or we would issue a stay of execution on the property. What the stay of execution is basically giving the property owner time to respond to the issues that are raised in the notice. And what we would like to see is we remove all of the hazards or potential hazards that can result in the breeding of mosquitoes or the harborage of rodents, and the clearing around the property. If, when we do the re-inspections after issuing the stay of execution and no action is taken, that property then goes back onto the list after about 3 months. You can get a second stay of execution if you take action. So if you come in, speak to us, you demonstrate that you're going to take action, and you do take action, you can get a second stay of execution. But generally on the 3rd time, and there's no action, we will execute the provisions of the Health Services Act, Section 11, which gives the Minister of Health, where we are acting on his behalf, to execute the required works to remove the nuisance. So generally, for instance, if we publish 120, you would get about 30 of those where persons would call in and request stays of execution, and then about 15 or 10, the property owners would take action and remove the structures or clean the structures.
We shall see what will happen with that property in Bird Hill. But based on the number of derelict structures across Barbados and the unhealthy environment that surrounds them, it is clear that the plan by the EPD to tear down these structures is a move in the right direction, and it is a move that is mostly supported by residents in various communities in Barbados. For CBC, I'm Stacey Russell.